Hello, this is the U.S. Constitution, 5 Key Concepts Everyone Should Know, Part 2, and this is a continuation of Part 1, which you should view first. Now let's move on and talk about the three branches of government and how they're designed to operate. As we take a look at the three branches of government, this will not be a detailed analysis. That could be a multiple hour-long course, but it should be an effective overview that'll give you a sense for how the branches operate and their roles and responsibilities. First, let's take a look at the legislative branch, Congress. And as we've already said, Congress has the most space dedicated in the Constitution for describing its roles and activities. And here are some of them. They're to borrow and coin money, to regulate commerce, to regulate immigration, to set up the post office and roads, to create an environment for good commerce, to maintain Army, Navy, and militias, to declare war, to conduct impeachments, to oversee the District of Columbia, and to make laws limited to the 6 purposes of the Constitution and these areas above. And you might want to make note of the fact here that there's 10 items on this list, and this is a summary list. There's actually a few nuanced more, but it'll give you a sense for the amount of responsibility. Next, the executive, the presidential office. As we've already seen, there's less space dedicated to that, and it's reflected in his responsibilities or her responsibilities. To be commander-in-chief, to appoint ambassadors, judges, and officers, to enforce the laws of the United States, to sign treaties and receive ambassadors, to grant pardons, and to give the State of the Union to Congress. And so you can see that this list of items is reduced to 6 rather than 10. Thirdly, the judicial branch, the Supreme Court, the smallest part of the Constitution dedicated to describing its functions, which include to take appeals from citizens, courts, and states, to make principled judgments, to ensure jury trials, and to uphold the Constitution. One thing that's worth noting here as you look at the 4th item on the list, to uphold the Constitution, it's a common mistake now to think that the Supreme Court is the final arbiter of what the Constitution says. But in fact, how the Constitution is set up, all 3 branches are to uphold and to interpret the Constitution, not just the Supreme Court. Even at the founding, there was a great concern over the Supreme Court and possible judicial overreach or judicial tyranny because judges were appointed to life. And there was a feeling that the accountability judges might have or not have would allow them to encroach on the other 2 branches of the government over time. So concerned over this was even Jefferson at the founding said this: the Constitution is a mere thing of wax in the hands of the judiciary, which they may twist and shape into any form they please. And so as we look at the state of things today, it seems as if these concerns have manifested themselves. The balance of power over the court, interestingly enough, is that Congress actually has the responsibility for establishing the jurisdiction of the court. They can limit what the court can actually rule on, and then Congress also has the power to impeach judges when Congress feels like they're operating outside of constitutional bounds. So in summary of these 3 branches, Congress was designed to be just slightly more powerful in this balance of power concept because they were closest to the people, and that's the House and then the Senate. And as you saw in the constitutional flow, that first section dedicated to Congress has the House responsibilities listed first and then the Senate. And so even the layout of the Constitution bears out that fact. The President is powerful in war and in keeping the law. Otherwise, he plays kind of a medium role in the balance of power. And then the judiciary was designed to be the checks and balances on the other 2 branches, but designed to be least powerful with the least responsibilities because judges were in fact appointed for life, and they knew that there was grave concern there with the possibility of a creeping judiciary over time. The last thing we want to touch base on is the Bill of Rights and how it reaffirms and limits of the Constitution. And this is just a brief remark on the Bill of Rights, as there will be another web seminar dedicated to it in more detail. But the Bill of Rights has item 1, which I'll at least mention here, that says Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. That's the whole separation of church and state debate that goes on today. That's not actually in the Constitution, but these words here of Congress's limitation of not making a law that establishes religion is actually the constitutional phrasing. And then in this first item of the Bill of Rights is also given the freedom of speech and freedom of press, although I don't have it in its original language here. What I want to make most note of here is Article 10 of the Bill of Rights, the 10th item on the list, and it says this: the powers not delegated to the United States are reserved for the states, respectively, or the people. So in other words, if the first 52 words don't define, or the first 52 words do define the limits and guides of how Congress, the President, and the judiciary should act, and then each of those branches of government have their list of responsibilities, but anything beyond that are responsibilities of either the states or ultimately the people themselves. On September 17, 1787, the United States Constitution was signed by 39 of the 55 delegates attending the Constitutional Convention. So now that you've heard this, why don't you be a difference maker? One key item is to know that the Declaration of Independence and Constitution are designed to work together. Ask people if they know how the Declaration of Independence and Constitution work together. If they don't, tell them. Also, ask people if they know the first 52 words of the Constitution that limits and guides the whole rest of the document. If they don't, share that with them. And so you can have a better understanding of the Constitution than 90% of Americans if you master these concepts by simply knowing these two concepts of how the two documents work together, and then the fact that the first 52 words of the Constitution form its core. Don't let others tell you what these documents mean when you can know it for yourself. As we conclude, there are some additional resources you may want to take advantage of after watching the YouTube videos on this playlist. For more freedom videos, check out July4thfreedom.com. For tools on growing in your faith, check out the 21dayfaithexperiment.org. For complete worldview training that integrates faith and life, check out biblicalworldviewtraining.org. And then finally, to team up with other young professionals that are making a difference in the world, check out PriorityAssociates.org. My name's Craig Seibert. Thank you for listening.